All right, here we are. All right, here we go. Rolling into High Octane Dad's podcast, episode 13. We are lucky number
13.
13.
Oh, that's my favorite number, my lucky number.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, means it's gonna be a good one.
Oh yeah, definitely be a good one. We got a couple good topics we're gonna talk about today, but the biggest thing is LS Fest is in 2 weeks. We are counting down the days.
Uh, Actually, a week.
Well, by the time this airs, it'll be a week. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we're closing in on being in Kentucky. I looked up, what are some of the common questions around LS Fest, and one of the things, that came up a lot was like, where is LS Fest? And it is at Beach Bend Dragway in Bowling Green, Kentucky, which I had never been to before going last year, but it's a great area, great facility. They got all kind of stuff there and plenty of room to do all kind of motorsport shenanigans.
I mean, they have a full campground on site, and they
Mm-hmm.
have an amusement park, a water park, and I mean, it's wild the amount of stuff they have at this facility. That's a big reason why, from what I understood, the guy owns so much property there that he doesn't really have a noise ordinance there where he's at.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, with how close he is to, the neighborhoods and whatnot.
Well, that could probably be a whole topic in and of itself around how like these
Right.
racetracks open in places where there's large tracts of land that people build neighborhoods around them, then complain about the racetrack that was there when they built their houses, and then the
Yeah.
racetracks get shut down, and then everybody starts street racing, and then everybody wants to complain about that. So
Yeah, this is, I think, year 15 for him, or is it next
this
year?
is no, this is the 15 year because they've
Okay.
got.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, we mentioned this a couple episodes ago. The pre sale for all of
Mhm.
the merchandise has dropped, and they've got this really
Yep.
cool one that it almost looks like a baseball jersey number, but it says 15
Right.
on it. So
Yeah.
probably gonna get one of those. I've still got to put my order in. I don't know if you have yet.
So I made an order, but I did not get that shirt. I got the normal event shirt for this year,
Hmm.
and there was one other one that I got, and then I bought the diecast car,
Oh yeah, I'm at least getting a
and
couple of those this year because I'd only got
yeah.
one.
Well, I was gonna get two or three, but I'm like, I'll just get one for now. But I'm like, I may end up having to buy a couple more just so that way the boys
Hmm.
can have it. Because if there's been a few toy cars that I've bought for myself to have as collectibles,
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden I find them where the boys have done opened them.
Hmm. Yep.
So,
Now
uh,
last year's are still on the clearance sale. At least when I checked a couple of days
yes.
ago for like $5. So that's
And
another
and
option for you.
honestly, even the normal shirts are relatively cheap. I mean, they're a $15 shirt versus
Yeah.
you go anywhere else and you get a shirt, you're spending, 25, $30 on a t-shirt,
Yep.
which I mean, to me is a little much, but sometimes you're kind of under the mercy of whoever you're using to do it. I'm sure, Holly get buys so many in bulk, they probably have their own printing company that prints them for them. Who knows?
Well, and I'll tell
So,
you too, like, I don't know. I mean, this is definitely a dad topic. I don't know if this is a problem for you guys, but I don't know how many times it gets hard for me to buy a $25 or $30 shirt because I'm bad about. I walk out to the garage and it's like, oh, I did mean to do that. And I'm next thing you know, I'm laying on the ground underneath the car doing something and I got an oil spot on the back of the shirt or, some sort of stain on it. And I get in trouble with the wife all the time about wearing my nice clothes to work
yeah.
on things. And then they're no longer my nice clothes. Um,
Well, I do that too. Thankfully, I have a good stack of t-shirts that I only wear to my job, and I work in a very dirty, oily atmosphere. So I tend to try to use those shirts, and I only have black or like dark blue shirts because they hide oil spots.
fair.
So I'll usually wear those if I'm out in the garage doing stuff, or if it's really fucking hot. I end up with no shirt on and wearing basketball shorts, and then I have grease all up my back and all on the back of my head. And
Hey, 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 this isn't your OnlyFans, okay?
I mean, I show my feet for $3 a month.
So she came home the other day, and I told you we ended up inheriting a 2007 Ford Focus, right? And seems to be
Right.
a decently solid car, but when we picked it up, it wouldn't start long enough to drive on the trailer, and so I got out there to change the oil, and I was on my lunch break. I worked from home, so walked outside and was like, I'll change the oil in this thing real quick. Well, I had on my white like sweat shorts that from Old Navy that I was telling you about a few weeks ago, and naturally I was like, I don't need to go change. I'm not gonna get that dirty. She comes
Yeah.
rolling in the driveway, and there I am in white shorts doing an oil change in the driveway.
Oh God.
I did not get anything on them, but I
Yeah.
could have, to which she
Yeah.
reminded me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that happens to me quite often. That
Yeah.
I wear my
I've
nice
ruined
clothes.
many a clothes working on cars.
Yep.
I'm really bad about not wearing shoes when I'm outside when it's hot doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I wear my OSHA flops a lot,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then I get hot and sweaty and then they come off and I'm barefoot.
Yep.
So,
Man, as a kid, I was barefoot everywhere I went. I mean, even as like a teenager, I hated wearing shoes. I didn't want to wear shoes. I would be outside barefoot all the time, and like that's changed a lot over the years. I've usually got flip flops on, but yeah, I've been known to work on cars barefoot as well, and that's
oh yeah, doesn't
don't tell
always work
anybody.
out. No. Well, speaking of you changing oil in that Focus, I have a quick topic that tends to come up in every group about cars on Facebook, forums. Oh, excuse me, it's my alarm.
Boomer
Uh,
alert.
yeah, I gotta have a really loud one to wake me up. What motor oil do you use? Or is it different per vehicle? Oil filters, do you have any types of specifics? I will say for me, I've ran Valvoline for years, uh, and then like all my LS cars, I've just swapped them to Valvoline full synthetic, and I typically run a Wix or a Napa Gold oil filter, which Wix makes Napa's filters. Um, However, over the last several years, I've started switching everything to Kirkland brand motor oil. So they're
Okay.
all made by the Warren Oil Company. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest oil manufacturers in the world. They also make SuperTech, the Walmart brand oil. We have a Costco membership, so I think I can go in there and get two 5 quart jugs for like 26 or 30 bucks.
Hmm.
And I have 5 vehicles. All 5 of our vehicles use the exact same weight and oil now. So every time I go to Costco, I'll buy like 2 cases.
I just picture you
And
walking out with like big cardboard boxes of five quart jugs of oil.
yeah, well, like I said, I'll just go in there and I'll buy like 2 cases every time, even if I don't need it. But the Caprice takes 8 quarts.
Hmm.
The
Yeah, my Silverado does.
Suburban,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, really. So the Suburban takes 6. The Hyundai takes 6. I want to say the Volvo takes 5 or 6, and then the Trans Am is supposed to take like 5.5. So I usually put, I'll do 5 and then check it and then go from there. I have started switching, and right now the Caprice has the correct style filter for it, but I tend to try to find the part numbers for the extended oil filters. Um, so the Caprice, the filter I did have on it was an extended one, and it hung down below the oil pan by like that far. Now I will say the K member and the bottom of the headers were still lower, and I ran that style filter on it twice, and I had no issues. Some people in the groups were like, "Oh, you're gonna rip the filter off," and I'm like, "Come on." I mean, I get the concern, but it's fine. Like I said, in that car, all that sits up within the K member. Now my Trans Am, I mean, I'm sure you know too. The bottom of the oil pan is almost flush with the K member, so I would not do it on that car
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Yeah, my evolution of the oils that I have used has changed because as a teenager, when I didn't know what I was doing and was changing my oil, I was like, it's got 200,000 miles on it, so I was buying the Pennzoil in the gold container, the Pennzoil high mileage. It's like, oh, this has got to
Yep.
be good stuff. It's Pennzoil. They run that in NASCAR or
Yeah.
whatever it was, and um, used that for a while. And I mean, obviously the car survived, but at some point, I bought the 2001 Bullet Edition Mustang, which you sent me one the other day, but I've mentioned I had that black Mustang for a while. And when I bought it, I was like, all right, I'm gonna take care of this thing. I'm gonna put good oil in it. So I went to O'Reilly and or Walmart. I forget where I got it. And I bought Royal Purple full synthetics. I heard that was good
Oh,
stuff. You know, I spent a pretty penny, and I think that lasted one oil change. But over the years, I've just, I've bought, I think, Castrol. And I won't lie, for no other reason than that was John Force's sponsor. And I was like, well, obviously they make
Right.
decent oil. So why not go with that? Because really you start looking into it and everybody's like, most of these oils are oil. There are, a lot of them are made in the same place. And
Right.
now it does vary from vehicle to vehicle. Like the Ford Focus that we just did, I bought the O'Reilly brand 5W20 and the MicroGuard filter because that's what was on sale for the week with their special that they had. Because at the end of the day, that car would crank and immediately shut off.
Yeah.
And
And I mean, for something like that, that's, I wouldn't say a throwaway car, but something you're probably not going to keep long term, as long as it's got something that's in it that it should have.
yeah, and I mean, so the idea was I'm going to change the oil in it and just make sure that the thing runs because when we went to pick the car up, I cranked it up and it cranked and it shut off and I thought, that was weird. And I had the jump box on it because the battery was stone cold dead. One post was corroded, so I cranked it again, cranked and it shut off. I thought, okay, maybe the battery's so dead and the alternator's shot. So I tried one more time and I gave it a little bit of gas and it kind of revved and it stayed a little bit longer and then it shut off and I'm like, okay. So I checked the oil on it and it's like barely touching the dipstick. I was like, all right, I'm not trying to crank this car anymore. We got it up onto the trailer, brought it all the way home, and I did the oil change in it. I put the jump box on it and I cranked it and it would crank and immediately like it would shut off and then crank right back up.
Huh.
And it would shut off and it would crank right back up. And it would shut off and
Right.
it would crank right back up because the jump box was steady trying to.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
So I got out and I took the jump box off. And then when I took the jump box off, immediately it quit running. So I was like, okay. So I charged the battery up for probably 2 hours, put the battery in it and cranked it up, drove it all around the yard. The only thing now is that I don't have any power steering. I think it's just low
Is
on
it
fluid.
is the alternator charging?
So with the battery in the car, you take the multimeter. It's 13.7 volts, so appears to be charging. And it wasn't like super fluctuating. I would see it go up to like 14.1, but it was
Yeah.
13.7, 14.1. So
Yeah.
it never was dipping down below
Probably.
12. So it looks like it's charging.
Yeah, the battery was probably just that weak that it
Yep.
was. They can, like, dead batteries or batteries have a bad cell in them, can really do some weird stuff in
Mm-hmm.
modern cars. A lot of electronics.
Yep. So I think we got lucky with that one. The like I said, I'm gonna put some power steering fluid in it this week and see if we can get the power steering going. But if the power steering fluid is empty, it still begs the question, where'd the fluid go?
Right.
But ultimately the plan really is to have that car briefly. My daughter's got her 2004 Civic, but she's leaving for college at the end of this year, so trying to we'll probably sell both of those and get her something a little bit more, a little bit newer, a little more modern before she heads off to
Right.
school. Because she's done great. She's took care of her car. Her grades are good. So we're definitely gonna try to reward that. But yeah, so
So another thing along with those, I started doing it a few years ago, and I want to say I saw it on Vice Grip Garage. Especially like if you have cars that sit around a lot, you know,
who would do that?
like my Transient, huh?
Who would have a bunch of cars that just sit around?
Well, anyways, if you do, or if you have something that doesn't get driven a lot, or even if you do drive it a lot. So I keep little notepads in my vehicles and I write down the oil changes, the date, the mileage, what brand oil I use, the filter, the part numbers, anything I put on the vehicles. And I guess it's a really boomer thing to do, but it really helps me, being able to, like, all right, when did I do this? And I can flip back and check it out. But Vice Grip Garage put on there a good thing is to write on the bottom of the oil filters with like a paint marker the mileage or the date that you changed the oil. So, like, let's say
Then
if you
it's
have,
gonna be there.
right, and so that way you'd be like, well, I don't know when this was done or whatever. Given anytime I've ever bought a vehicle, regardless of what whoever's told me, I typically do fluids right after I get it. But that's something I've started doing over the last several years. One thing that I've always done, I guess it's kind of an old school deal, is I'll put a half to a whole quart of ATF in the crankcase and in the engine oil, and I'll run it for 50 or 100 miles, maybe a week. I don't know, depends. But and I'm sure somebody will say, hey, you don't need to do that. That's just bullshit. But it's always been supposedly the extra detergents in the ATF would help clean some of the sludge out of the engine. I've seen it help quite a bit. I've had a bunch of engines apart over the years that I've done this to, and they typically look really good.
Interesting.
Obviously, you don't want to run straight ATF all the time, but um, it does seem to help cut down some of the buildup and sludge inside the engines. Also, you definitely change your oil. I've bought engines that were garbage because of not changing oil. Like, I'll have to find some pictures we could try to put up, but it looked like black jello just caked in the around the rocker arms and inside the engine,
Ugh.
and it's just disgusting. But
Yeah.
I mean, that definitely helps. I'm not saying it's an end all cure all, but it's something I do in all of our vehicles. I'll throw a little bit of ATF in, run it for like a week, and then change the oil.
Yeah, so like for my truck, for the last couple of years, I've had the local shop here just doing the oil changes in the truck, and you know, for the Firebird and other my other vehicles, I definitely do Wix filters. Anytime I'm having to buy an oil filter, I usually buy Wix. I buy Wix fuel filters and everything else. The Firebird, like I said, I have ran the Castrol in it. That's what I did right when I finished the swap, and I'm about to do an oil change. And I recently had a guy reach out to me. He's local to me, and he's an AMSOIL dealer, and I've never used AMSOIL before, but I was like, hey, I'd love to give it a try. So he got me, the 5.5 quarts of the AMSOIL that I'm going to need, and was able to get the Wix filter through him. But also got a little bit of the fuel treatment for the SS
Okay.
Silverado to
Yeah,
put in
yeah,
the tank to try to clean those up. I've still got a little bit of an update on that one. Um, I got out there the other day, and it's definitely got a misfire. So I went cylinder by cylinder and just turned injectors off, and you can turn off cylinders 6 and 7, and there's no change in the idle. Like, so 6 and 7
yeah.
are obviously just either completely clogged or barely
Hmm.
barely firing at all. So I've got to address that. But I did put the Amsoil fuel cleaner in it, so going to give that a try. But he included in my box, and this is something that I did not even know they did, is an interior detailer from Amsoil. So apparently they've got a
Yes,
line of like cleaning products and stuff.
yes, yeah. They're pretty good.
So got a can of that. I'm gonna give it a try on the Trans Am before we go to any of the local car shows or anything. But yeah, I mean, I've never been super brand loyal to oils. I definitely been one that could get caught up in the hype of what is considered the maybe the
Mhm.
higher end stuff. Hopefully, I have no doubt this Amsoil stuff will be good, but whether it gives an appreciable difference for something that I drive
Right.
a few
And,
hundred
and
miles
I
a
will
year.
say it. I do agree to an extent with the old saying that you get what you pay for. And but I will say it depends on what your if you make good educated decisions, and this goes with anything, not just engine oil, but I mean if you make a good, educated decision on something based on, you know, personal use or feedback from multiple other people or something you've seen or whatever, uh, you can sometimes go a little cheaper on stuff. I mean, you can't always get hyped up by the name. I mean,
Yep.
there's a lot of big names out there that that's what you're paying. I mean,
But the truth is, how many
there's
times do those big names start out and they really are that premium quality and they really are that
right,
great? And then at scale, when the business grows to a certain size, there's no way to continue to provide that quality at a level that's
right,
profitable. And so
right,
what happens is we can change this one chemical and it's much cheaper, but the end result will be the same, and then you end up with an inferior product over the years. Like
right.
how often have you heard that story, right?
Yeah, just do your own research. Just because I use cheap shit doesn't mean you should. But I mean, I run it in my Caprice, my Trans Am. Both of them see 7,000 RPMs every time they're taken out. Now it's not sustained. Now, if I was like drag racing every weekend or road racing every weekend, I might look into something a bit better. But I keep up with my oil levels, run good filters. I think that's a big part of it. If you run a good filter, and as long as you run something that's meets whatever standards that vehicle or engine calls for, you should be okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping to make some passes here pretty soon, even if I go to the local 8th mile track in the Firebird, and so that's why I really wanted to try the Amsoil and get something a little bit nicer, a little bit
All
better.
right.
And truthfully, like that car, it hasn't really been out at all this year. Just with everything going on, we just haven't taken it
Yeah.
out. So I'm hoping to do that. I'm hoping that I'm going to put some quality oil in there. I'm going to go and do new plugs, get everything right. I got the new pads in for
I'm super tech.
yeah, got the new pads in for my my helmet. Shout out to Steve. Uh, so looking forward to getting out and doing a little bit with the car. A little bit of a project update there. Although I think next week's episode we're probably going to do like a you'll do a quick update on the Caprice, and I'll actually do a walk around of the Firebird as well. We'll just split
Yep.
those videos up, and that'll be next week's episode. But I have put off. We've talked about this before. I put off mounting the catch can. And again, sorry, Kevin, little cheapo catch can. I sent him a picture, and he was like, "Dude, what are you doing?" But we'll get there. But for now, I mounted the catch can on there, pulled the intake, made sure everything was good, tightened the intake down, and cranked the car up. Was able to pull it out, give it a good wash over the weekend. And I'd been putting that off for like 2 months at this point, maybe 2.5, right? Just and it took me like an hour, hour and a half to get out there,
Yeah.
focused on it, and get it done. And I still got to do the oil change and stuff, but it was like every time I thought about getting out there and messing with it, something would happen. Or I'd run into a roadblock, and I'd go, I'm going to go work on something else, and I'd go work on the Silverado or something. And
Yeah.
finally, just made it a point this weekend and got it done. And I'm happy that I did.
Well, good. I'm glad you got it done. And that's the hardest thing, the start, is just starting anything. Once you usually get going, it's not as bad as you feel. But just the getting started, and that goes with anything.
Yeah, I tell
Just
people that
starting
all the time when
is
they
the
ask me
hardest.
about, man, how do you do this stuff in the gym? How do you stay consistent? And I'm like, you just got to show up and be there even when you don't feel like it, and I can give them that advice all day long. And then when it comes to me, I'm
Mhm.
like, yeah, but, yeah, but,
Do as I say, not as I do.
oh man, that was my dad's favorite saying for the first 20 years of my life. But yeah, I mean, and the truth is that you just have to get started. I'm trying to think the phrase that I've seen. I saw it on the back of a guy's T-shirt, and I was like, that's brilliant. But it was motivation is defined by your emotion, but
Hmm.
discipline is defined by your character.
Yep.
And that kind of stuck with me that the discipline will get you going, it will get you there because hey, I need to go do this thing. The motivation will follow, right? Because
Yep.
you get to working out, or you start seeing progress on your car or whatever it is that you're trying to do. You start getting momentum, and that motivation will follow because an object of motion stays in motion, right? But
Hmm.
you just got to get going, and a lot of times
Yep.
discipline is the only thing that's going to make you get up and start moving.
Yep. I agree 100%.
So next week, when I'm still not working on the OBS and I still don't have the cam in that 5.3, somebody can remind me that I said all this. But yeah,
Or that
it's
you
true.
haven't pulled the injectors out of the Silverado SS yet.
And the dumb thing is, they're the same injectors and everything that's on the Firebird. So I could just grab two injectors off of it, and walk over there and stick them on cylinder 6 and 7 and see. And how many times have I thought about that over the last week, just to
Yeah.
rule it out, you know?
It happens.
Yep.
Well, so I also saw earlier this week that the automotive world lost a influencer that was pretty big. He was a car salesman. I think he had a lot of good stories of buying and selling cars. They started a Netflix series. I really, forgive me because I didn't follow him a ton, but I've seen a lot of talk about him lately from other automotive friends of mine. But Rob Pitts, or Rob the Rabbit Pitts,
Yep.
passed away, I think, late Sunday or early Monday morning. Uh, I mean, he was relatively young, and if what I understand, that his sickness came on pretty rapidly. But we will definitely circle back around to that at another point. But I definitely wanted to kind of just put it out there that if any of you guys watched any of his stuff, it's definitely going to be missed in the automotive world. I've seen how so many people that was impacted by him. We talked about it briefly off camera about it is really hard. I feel bad because I'm like, man, I really didn't follow the guy a ton. I knew of him, but it was more so you can't keep up with everybody. It's hard to compete these days with like the Cletuses, um, and any of the other big automotive YouTubers that are out there these days. And there's just so much. It's hard to keep up with all of them. Plus your own stuff. And if you're sitting around watching YouTube videos or whatever all day long, you're not working on your own stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, but podcasts are a great thing to just have play in the background while you're working on stuff.
I
You're not.
completely agree.
Yeah, I mean that is my favorite time to listen to a podcast is while I'm working on something.
Yeah,
So
I had only seen his videos through like reels and stuff, and
yeah,
watching like the short form videos, and they were always because I knew when I saw them that it was like, all right, I'm scrolling through and I'm watching all this dumb stuff, the Hawk to a girl and whatever all the other trends are that
yeah,
happen to be going on at the time, and then I would see like this guy, and it's like I know this is fixing to be a 10 minute or 5 minute long story about buying and selling some car or whatever, but I always watched him,
oh yeah,
and I didn't know he had a Netflix series until recently. Probably
uh,
have to go look that up now because he's definitely an entertaining guy. You can tell
yeah.
and he had a passion for what he did, and so
I believe it was called Tex-Mex or something along those lines.
okay, yeah, and like I said, we'll probably put a link up to it in the video description for this, but
Okay.
it's one of those things that like you said, you can't follow everybody. We did it. We talked about influencers a couple episodes ago or a few episodes ago, and really, we mentioned like two or three, but I mean, that's a drop in the bucket to the total number of people who
Oh
are
yeah,
out here putting out good quality automotive content
right,
on YouTube and wherever else. And, it's, it's something that even keeps us going because it's like, hey, maybe one day
mhm,
we can be putting out content
right,
of that caliber, and we would definitely
yeah,
love that. But for now, it's definitely affected. I've seen everywhere, right? People posting about you know losing Rob Pitts, and we don't want to.
hmm
It's hard to believe, really, especially when something comes on that fast, right? Like,
oh yeah, it's hard. And the great thing is, for people that did love him and were friends with him or love just watching his stuff, how we've spoke about it before. I don't can't remember if we had it on an episode or not, but how all this will be just saved out there for
yeah,
people to watch one day. And he may not be around, but people can still go back and enjoy everything that he did.
yeah.
So
I remember even at the funeral a couple months ago, you look around and you see hundreds of people, and in Rob's case, many more, right? Who
mhm,
their lives were touched by this individual. You leave
right.
behind a legacy that really, shows that you had an impact on lives, and like
Yep.
that should be everybody's goal. And so,
Yep.
as sad as it is to lose somebody, he at least knows he left his mark on the world, and
Oh yeah.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And that's a great thing. And let's hope that everybody can achieve that.
Absolutely,
Ideally more so with your close friends and family, but
it's got to start there.
it just shows but it just shows, the people that, you know, so many people can just love what you do and you don't even really know it.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I think he knew, obviously, like you look at the analytics and
well,
you're
yeah.
getting views, but the truth is, to what extent really? Because there might be that one individual that
Mhm.
they looked forward to those videos or those episodes every day, like that was the thing that kind of kept them going,
Yeah.
and or maybe that was the only laughter they got that day or whatever it may
Yeah.
be. Like, you never know when you touch that one life, and the truth is, I'm gonna get sentimental here, so but if you can touch one life that deeply,
Hmm.
that I mean, that's is equally profound. So,
Oh yeah.
but
Well,
on that deep thought, or as they said on Top Gear, and on that bombshell,
yeah.
it's time to say goodnight. I think we'll wrap
Yep.
it up here, but reminder for everybody, we will be at LS Fest September 6th through the 8th. Pretty excited. I had my safety meeting for the media, so, telling me, hey, don't stand in the middle of the track and don't be an idiot. All that kind of stuff. There was a lot more to it than that. They have a very well run organization. Every question was answered. It was a very informative meeting. So it was very good. I'm looking forward to being there, especially in that capacity, getting some shots for you guys. Yeah, we're gonna try to
We
do.
need we need poster shots.
Yes, gonna be doing my best. So we are tentatively planning Friday night at the track, 9-ish, maybe a little before, a little after, trying to go live. We'll have a lot more information on Facebook about it before that happens. But if we can get data, just try to do some little bit of a live stream, just chat with everybody from the event. Friday night's going to be best because Saturday the data is going to be in the tank because there's, tens of thousands of people all coming through there. But trying to do that. We'll have one more episode between now and then episode 15 will be our LS Fest recap episode, which is pretty awesome.
I feel that will be a pretty long one.
Yeah, for sure. If not a two-parter, but I think we're just going to end up talking about it, and we're going to be so excited from the event that there'll be a lot to talk about, or we'll be so wore out that
we won't want to talk about
it. We just want to rest. But I will definitely have a photo editing marathon. I've got a new. I picked up one of those TikTok shop gimbals for doing some video. I know Steve wants one of the rolling burnout videos down the side of the car, so I've been trying to get some practice with this thing.
Cool.
It's a little bit of a learning curve, but the app that comes with it's actually pretty slick. You can lock it onto a wheel, and it will just follow that wheel wherever it goes. So, or whatever the object is you select, or a face, whatever. So pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to giving that a try. And I think you're racing Thursday night. So instead of tacos and margaritas, I think I'll be there taking photos of your car because I care about you guys.
Yeah. All righty. Well, I think we're going to wrap this one up right here.
Absolutely.
I got to go do some dad stuff. So.
Yep. Go do the dad things. Glad we got to hang out for a little bit. Again, y'all look us up, like, subscribe, all that stuff, and then we will see you guys at LS Fest.
All right. See y'all later.
All right. Have a good evening, folks.